Once, long ago, when the Sontarans and the Rutan host had only been at war for a few centuries, and their conflict was still young, there was a battle in the Clovian cluster. The Sontarans drove their enemy back through the cluster, but the Rutans made a counterattack and gained the upper hand. Or rather, the upper tentacle, for the Rutans are gelatinous, blobby creatures with tendrils and tentacles instead of hands or arms. The Sontarans were forced to retreat, their fleet in disarray and their battle plan in tatters. The Rutans too suffered heavy casualties. What had been a mighty battle across a vast area of space became fragmented. On planets across the cluster, Sontarans and Rutans faced one another in small groups, each side hoping to gain a strategic advantage. On one of these planets, a Sontaran legion fiercely fought a Rutan battalion. They fought in the hills and the valleys, on the plains and in woodland, through deserts and in icy polar regions. The battle lasted for months, until there were just 3 Sontarans left alive, opposed by a single Rutan.
"We must establish defensive positions,"
the first Sontaran said to the others. His name was Marshal Vrike, and he was a veteran of several campaigns against the Rutans.
"We shall have the strategic advantage if we force the enemy to the offensive. If we split up into separate fighting units,"
the second Sontaran, Major Kaya, said,
"we shall stand a better chance of success."
The third Sontaran, Commander Starn, agreed with Major Kaya. Out of all 3 Sontarans, and despite his relatively low rank, Starn had fought in the most battles. He had a deep scar down one side of his face that differentiated him from his otherwise identical comrades. It was an injury he'd received off the rim of Landseer in the glorious retreat from Hastegard. Humans had once colonized the planet the 3 Sontarans now found themselves on, although the humans had long since left. The decaying and abandoned remains of their time here still littered the planet, however, and the Sontarans had made their headquarters in the ruined shell of an old power plant that was built high into the side of a steep valley. The main structure was largely intact, and the walls were strong. From the power plant, the 3 Sontarans surveyed the landscape in front of them. They knew the surviving Rutan was located on the other side of the valley, and debated the route it might take to get to them. It would have to pass through an area of woodland.
"We should lay ambushes in the woodland,"
Vrike decided.
"Major Kaya and I will wait in hiding for the Rutan pest."
He turned to Starn.
"You may watch our inevitable and total victory from here. There is a good view down into the valley."
If Starn was disappointed not to be involved in the ambush, he was disciplined enough not to show it. Instead, he saluted, fist to chest, and said,
"I look forward to it, sir."
As soon as the other 2 Sontarans had departed to set their trap, Starn set about securing the power plant. His superiors might be confident of victory, but Starn had survived thus far by planning for every eventuality, however unlikely. While the other 2 set their ambushes in the woods, Starn would make the power plant into a trap of his own, just in case.